Independence Day. What's it mean to you? Think about this. I was told over the years by some special mentors of mine that were at least 25, 30 years older than me. And it was to the point in my life that I was going through a divorce. I was going through a business transition. And I was a single parent. I was scared, man. I was scared. I started thinking about myself as a loser. I couldn't keep a marriage together. My business, even though I was very successful, I wasn't good enough for the leadership. They looked at my personal life versus my career. They just wanted to trade the top guy, like sports. Why do people get traded? For more value, more players. And it's risky to let go of a diva. They don't know what the diva's going to do. Make it better, and then sometimes in sports it's best to have a change. And that change comes with a better ownership. It comes better with a coach. It comes better with players. I mean, we all know. So Independence Day is coming up, and I started thinking about my Uncle Frank, who was really a distant cousin, but he mentoring me in some of the worst times of my life. As I mentioned, I was going through a divorce. My father was divorcing me in the business. He was divorcing me as a son. I was going through a marriage divorce. I was stripped from my kids as a united family, traditional family, and he would just keep pounding on me. And he was in Chicago and I was in St. Paul, and I would visit him just to be in his presence. I would drive to Chicago from St. Paul, which was at that time was maybe 6.5 hour drive. And I'd spend 2-3 days there. It was like a retreat for me. And I had relatives in Chicago. I had friends, I had clients. So it was an easy deal. And my son was going to Madison. So I spent a lot of time in Chicago because I was alone. I was lonely. Uncle Frank would look at me and say, "You don't know how lucky you are. Your age," which I was in my mid-30s, late 30s, that your life is all in front of you. And you have two things that I've been striving for all my life, and ultimately this should be your goal. And I said, "What's the goal?" Independence and freedom. That's right, independence and freedom. And what he meant was, Rock, I'm stuck with a family business. I'm stuck with a family. I'm stuck, not in a negative way, in a marriage. You got the opportunity to exercise your goals, your aspirations. You have a clean slate. Because my kids were already, in a way, leaving the household. And I was single for 5-10 years. I put all my time into the business and my kids. I didn't have time to date. I didn't have time. I was too fearful. I was too fearful that everything was going to come to an end. No one loved me. I was never good enough. And as I mentioned, besides the divorce of the marriage, my father was letting me go. The business was letting me go. My kids, I had to fucking set up appointments and visitation with the kids through the court. So why am I saying this at age 71? Because at age 21, my dreams were marriage, a career, and raising kids. Within 15 years, it was all gone. Even though I was on track. So why am I talking like this? At age 71, and independence and freedom is around the corner. 4th of July. Understand that I was lucky I didn't have to go to Vietnam like my brother. In the neighborhood, kids that were killed in Vietnam or injured were part of the Agent Orange Paul fucking disaster in Vietnam. I was before all that. So people that were just a few years older than me were in Vietnam. I was out there fucking around at college, sports, with the buddies. Then I had to settle down. So that independence, if I had to do it all over again, everybody, you don't understand what independence means until you really experience it. Here in the United States especially. And we have multiple wars going around in the world. and people making these huge decisions. Our future, I'm talking about the United States, of our future. Now that my kids are in their 40s, with children, with spouses, it's them if they're independent and free. I know they're not. My father's going to be 100. No way does he think he's independent and free. In fact, he's scared, just like I would be, knowing that you could die any day. That's your future, death. So independence and freedom, it's a big celebration. So that's what you really have to look at, how lucky you are. I'm sitting there thinking about all the grind, all the times that I was in that fucking foxhole and I had to get out and fight. There was nobody behind me, nobody leading me, except God. God. So once you realize freedom and independence you have as a single person, once you grab it back, I'd enjoy it, man. And that's what my first marriage did for me was, Rock, fuck you. The only thing I want is your money. I don't want your family. I just want your money. Fast forward 40 years. Think she's free and independent? No. Wasted 40 years of bitching and moaning. I gained it all. And when I announced my second marriage to my mother, I'll never forget her face. My mother, that was 29, 2010, and she died 10 years later. But her first reaction when I announced with my second wife, after 22 years of being independent and free and fucking enjoying it, I took the plunge again thinking that my God gave me this woman. And together, we're going to build a life together, just the two of us. My mother looked at me, and I'll never forget her face. Walk in the door in Florida. She's in the condo. I said, we're getting married. We brought a cake, I think, or something like that to celebrate. I opened the door, and she announced to my parents that we're engaged. And my mother looked at me and said, I'm leaning in. She said, no. What the fuck? I really think my mother liked any woman that would date any of her sons. She was unconditional. Loved everybody. I think she looked at her life and thought, fuck, Rock, you're giving up your independence and your freedom. I just did not look at the red flags, everybody. I want you to understand that you have to really look at your life. Really understand, who can you really trust?